Alright, I came across this very interesting article that I wanted to share with the public. And it really goes hand in hand with what I'm trying to teach. And this article serves to be like evidence and proof to show that a lot of the stuff that we see out there is not real, it's not healthy, and it's not the true way. I'm here to promote the true way in the martial arts, the true way in life, and I'm trying to promote like optimum health, like real health. And I think that what's being shown out there in the magazines and the movies and everything out there is just very much, it's not real. It's a distorted view of what is health. So the title of the article is 18 Bodybuilders Who Went Too Far and Paid for It. It was published in June 19th, 2016. Alright, so I'm going to read through the article. It's a pretty long article because there's over 18 bodybuilders that it brings up. And this is not health. Even though they look healthy, they're not truly healthy. They're really damaged in the inside, and a lot of them are dying early. And we're essentially striving after something that does not exist. You know, we need to reevaluate what real health is. And these bodybuilders are not representing it. In my eyes, it should be the martial artists, the real martial artists, that are the ones that are representing true health. So here it goes with the article. Pretty much everybody wants to look good and be happy with their body. The concept of what looks good is always changing and evolving, and that's why we see so many diet programs and weight loss program information being littered onto the television and the internet. Throughout the past 100 years or so, however, there has been a very different kind of person, the bodybuilder. Bodybuilders are the dedicated few who turn their body into absolute masterpieces, treating each muscle like a religious text that needs to be meticulously studied. While bodybuilding can be a noble pursuit, just look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. It can also cause some serious self-harm. Listed below are 11 bodybuilders who crossed the line in their pursuit for the perfect body and ended up paying for it dearly. Anthony D'Arezzo. When you're at the peak of your game in bodybuilding, you will be rolling in bank accounts filled with cash. Competitive bodybuilding can be great when you need to stock up your account, but it can also be deadly, as Anthony Del Arezzo learned. Anthony Del Arezzo looked like the classic bodybuilder before his untimely death in 2006, but he didn't get there without a bit of health. The wrestler suffered from cardio cardiopathy, a heart defect that was exacerbated by extensive steroid usage. De Rezo was told by his doctors to stop taking the steroids and limit his time in the gym, but the allure proved to be too much. De Arezzo died of a heart attack in his hotel room the night before a competition. Are all the money market accounts and internet banks filled with money worth it in the end? We don't think so. They show a picture of this guy. No headshot, but here it goes. Right there. Next up is, let's see, Gary Hyming. There's an old saying that goes, find what you love and then let it kill you. And that is exactly what Gary Hyming did. Hyming was one of the more famous bodybuilders in the world when he died on stage back in 2009. Hyming was competing in a sanctioned competition in Australia when he suffered a heart attack on stage. Rather than canceling the show, the event promoters instead had his body moved to a hospital before continuing. The world of bodybuilding can be savage, and the allure of the money, fame, and killer body can be too much for some people. However, we'd rather deal with quick loans to pay our bills than put our body in harm's way like this. Still, Hyman died doing what he loved, so there is something poetic there. Picture of him right here. Right there. Next up, Andreas Munzer. One look at Andreas Munzer and you'll believe that he was pulled straight from the action cartoons we watched as kids. Munzer looked like he was a real-life action figure throughout his short life before he untimely until he ultimately died in 1996 at the age of 32. What could possibly kill a man who looked like he could break a car in half? Organ failure. Munzer had cut his body fat percentage down to almost nothing. Cutting down your body fat is common in bodybuilding as it allows you to show off each individual muscle, but there's a certain threshold that you will never want to cross. Munzer was later found to have several tumors located in his liver as well as an enlarged heart. Safe to say that years of supplement abuse and overtaxed bodywork ended up dooming the athlete. I know this kind of gets me to think about Bruce Lee having such a low body fat. As stated in my other videos, it's just something that's not healthy and it could lead to an early death. And it's interesting how this guy, he put his body fat too low. He died at age 32, and then Bruce Lee also died at the age of 32. But here is the picture of this guy. It just looks ridiculous. Dean Warmby. For our next bodybuilder, we get to see just how tragic things can be when a person dives headlong into the game without understanding exactly what they were doing. Warmby at his peak looked just as good as any official competitor on the bodybuilding circuit, however it was coming at a price. Warmby was eating upwards of 10,000 calories per day while drinking up to 8 energy drinks per day just to stay energized. Warmby would develop tumors in his body that would turn cancerous, directly resulting from heavy steroid and diet abuse, and he would end up passing away before 40 years old, looking like a skeleton on his deathbed. Proper diet, nutrition, and supplement usage must be practiced by serious bodybuilders. Here's this guy. Next. Mustafa Ismail. Not all of our list members end in death, thankfully. For Egyptian bodybuilder Mustafa Ismail, there is something to be proud of with his accomplishments. Mustafa is the current world record holder for the largest biceps on the planet. Ismail's biceps measure at ridiculous 31 inches, and they look every bit their size in person. Ismail has come under fire for his alleged use of drugs like synthol, and many folks believe that Ismail is more akin to a freak show than a serious bodybuilder. According to Ismail, the reason for his bicep size is thanks to 7 pounds of protein being ingested daily. There's nothing healthy about anything in this situation. Greg Plitt. If you looked at Greg Plitt's pedigree, then you would know the man was destined to succeed. Plitt was a high-ranking grad from West Point, a celebrated ranger and airborne soldier, and he possessed the natural good looks that so few are blessed with. Plitt was becoming a superstar in the fitness community with appearances all over magazines and in television. Tragically, Plitt died when he was hit by a train in California. The reason he was hit by the train will make you shake your head. Pitt was trying to race between the train rails to prove how effective an energy drink was. Tragic. Bertal Fox. Bertal Fox sums up the dark side of bodybuilding all at once. Fox came to national acclaim rather quickly when he took up bodybuilding, becoming an instant competitor at a very high level. In order to get to this high level, Fox relied heavily upon human growth hormone, or HGH. His sudden and heavy reliance on steroids led to an increase in aggression and an imbalance in his brain. Fox would end up murdering an ex-fiancée as well as the woman's mother. Fox would end up being sentenced to life in prison after his death sentence was reduced. While you can't blame steroids completely for his murderous rampage, it is undeniable the role that steroids play in increased aggression amongst heavy users. Romerio dos Santos. Here we have another bodybuilder who approaches the world of fitness by trying to take shortcuts instead of working hard. Dos Santos rose to fame thanks to his ghastly appearance and quick viral action on the internet. Dos Santos injects his body with alcohol and oil in order to give an artificial pump. The result of these lethal injections is a body that looks to be inflated and grossly misshapen. Dos Santos is certainly facing long-term health effects thanks to his reliance on dangerous substances and fitness shortcuts. The saddest thing of all is that Dos Santos is killing himself for no reason. The effect of the drugs doesn't even make him look anything but freaky. Greg Valentino. Next up on the list is Greg Valentino, the man who formerly had the largest biceps in the world. Valentino is an embodiment of everything that is wrong with the current bodybuilding world. Valentino achieved his bear-like huge arms by relying on an oil called synthol. Synthol was used extensively by Mustafa Ismail, listed above, and many other people in the fitness world. Synthol is frowned upon because it is a shortcut to pumping up your muscles without putting in real work. It is also very dangerous. Valentino found out how dangerous synthol was when his arm developed a dangerous hematoma that started to disgustingly leak. Valentino tried to drain the growth on his own with the syringe only to watch it in horror as his bicep ended up exploding, sending him quickly to the emergency room at the hospital. There are no shortcuts without severe consequences in the fitness world. Chad Brothers. One of the stereotypes of bodybuilding is that the hobby will turn you into a raging hulk of a human being. While this is an unfair stereotype in a ton of cases, it does have some grounding in the truth, and Frank Brothers embodies it completely. Chad Brothers was a serious bodybuilder from New York when things went completely sideways. Brothers had been working out in the Gold's Gym on a treadmill when he tripped and fell. Instantly, Brothers snapped and started destroying the property. He threatened workers and other lifters, attacked people, flipped over heavy machines, and refused to back down to police when they showed up. Brothers was hit with 2 taser shots and he would be dead within an hour. Brothers' body was found to be filled with steroids and PCP, both illicit drugs that led to his dramatic temper and explosive anger. Sally McNeil. We are closing off our list with the only female bodybuilder that grabbed our attention, Sally McNeil. While female bodybuilding isn't as widespread as male bodybuilding, the hobby and passion is still there. Sally McNeil is a former Marine who suffered from an unreal temper thanks to constant steroid abuse. Her rage would lead her to beating a woman savagely after she allegedly had an affair with McNeil's husband. Things came to a head when McNeil pulled a shotgun on her husband and killed him while in a rage. McNeil is now facing life in prison. Andre Grados. The world of bodybuilding has undergone several different revolutions. We once were experiencing the age of mass where the desired look was to be as big as possible. Now we are at the point of insisting on lean muscle and huge size with guys like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson being the prototype for aesthetic bodybuilding fitness. Reg Grados was so inspired by the Rock he decided to become just like him by undertaking an intense workout regime aided by steroids. Grados was 19 years old when he collapsed just outside of a supermarket when his thoracic aorta inside his heart ruptured. Grados was 7'2" and 266 pounds. His heart was already larger than most people and the steroids increased his weight to a deadly size. His goal was to become the next Rock. Mike Matarazzo. Mike Matarazzo was one of the more famous bodybuilders in the world back in the late 80s and early 90s. He was well known for his extreme size and weight, 5'10", 250 pounds. Marazzo competed for a decade in the IFBB bodybuilding circuit, and he was well regarded for his gigantic arms and extraordinary calves. After placing 21st in the Mr. Olympia tournament, he was forced into early retirement and into open heart surgery. Matarazzo would go on to have two heart attacks, and his heart would be reduced to just 20% functioning before his untimely death at just 48 years old. Gordon Kimbrough. Before entering the world of bodybuilding, Gordon Kimbrough was thought of as a shy, quiet, and gentle man who would no more raise a hand toward a fly than lay a finger on another human being. Then he became a serious bodybuilding competitor, and with that lifestyle change came the anabolic steroids. Steroids became so ingrained into his lifestyle that his body was inflated with fake hormones, and this culminated in Kimbrough snapping and killing his soon-to-be wife, Christy Ramsey. According to Kimbrough, he had thought his wife had tried to hook up with another man. He was found at the scene of the crime trying to kill himself with a lethal injection. Dan Puckett. Dan Puckett was a promising young bodybuilder when he passed away at the age of 22, alone in his dorm. Before passing on, Puckett had begun to rack up serious awards, which culminated in his victory at the 2006 NPC Teenage Collegiate Bodybuilding Competition. Puckett had been attending the University of Alabama at the age of his death, at the time of his death. Before passing, no, he had complained of a torn muscle. The implications were pretty heavy that Puckett was, at the very least, abusing anabolic steroids. The coroner cited his cause of death as heart failure and natural causes. Ali Clooney. Ali Clooney is one of the latest prime examples of people who get into the world of bodybuilding with no clue and suffer immensely as a result. Clooney was from the West Yorkshire. He, at age 16, dedicated his life to bodybuilding. Clooney was an open user of steroids despite being told by doctors when he was 18 to slow down on his workouts and to cut out the steroids. Clooney was warned several times to quit working out after he was hit with chronic heart damage. Clooney did not stop and returned to working out up to 4 times a week. He was dead at 20 when he collapsed at the door of a taxi. His mom is now focused on spreading his story of steroid abuse around to help prevent other kids from falling to the same fate. Scott Klein. Scott Klein epitomized the idea of mass in the bodybuilding circuit where he competed throughout the 90s and into the early 2000s. Klein would rack up 4 NPC heavyweight rankings, 2 NPC super heavyweight rankings, before going on to become a trainer. Klein's retirement didn't last very long as he experienced kidney failure at the age of 30 and would pass away shortly after. Gray Kovacs. Gray Kovacs was known around the bodybuilding world for his intense off-season weight gain and his commitment to getting into shape right before the IFBB season would begin. Kovacs competed throughout the late 90s and he would retire in 2005. During the off-season, Kovacs would weigh in as high as 400 pounds, which is incredible even in the world of bodybuilding. Kovacs would suffer from heart failure at the age of 44. Only a few years after retiring, a clear signal of long pressure on the heart mixed with steroid abuse. Aziz Shalvershain lived on top of the world for a brief point in time thanks to his alluring personality, chiseled physique, and dominating online presence. Shalvershain popularized aesthetics to a whole new generation of bodybuilders thanks to his focus on being attractive over being strong. ZZ would go on to sculpt the perfect body in just under 4 years in time. However, the dream wasn't meant to last and Shalvershain would end up dying of heart failure while in the sauna in Bangkok with steroids the likely culprit. Mike Mentzer. Mike Mentzer is one of the most popular bodybuilders in recent memory thanks to his blend of perfectly cultivated mass, business savvy, and outspoken ideological beliefs. Mentzer competed in the IFBB for years, making his debut in 1979, and he would rack up a Mr. Olympia heavyweight championship in that first year. Mentzer began bodybuilding at just 12 years old, and he would get stronger and more nuanced as the years went by. Unfortunately, Mentzer passed away at the age of 40 due to heart problems. Robert Beneventi. Robert Beneventi was a steady shower in the mid-90s in the NPC circuit. He would place several times in the team division before racking up his highest honors in 2003 as the first place finisher in the Southern States competition. Beneventi would die only a year later due to a heart attack. He was 30 when he passed away. Muhammad Banasisa. Muhammad Banasisa was a prolific bodybuilder who totaled a proverbial treasure trove in competition wins. Banasisa would rack up 7-time Grand Prix wins as well as the top 5 finishes in the Mr. Olympia competitions 1989-1992. After winning the Grand Prix Holland competition in 1992, he went back to his hotel room where he promptly died of heart failure. Banasisa was just 33. Steve Michalik. Steve Michalik formed what we would consider the basis of modern bodybuilding. Michalek glowed with all-encompassing intensity that many people need to succeed in the world of bodybuilding. He was a B-52 fighter pilot in Guam, and he would eventually turn that same intensity to bodybuilding in the 70s. He was crowned Mr. Universe in 1975, only 3 years after winning Mr. America in 1972. Malik was completely composed of muscle, but he was peppered with health problems due to his controversial usage of steroids. Malik had liver tumors, kidney disease, and heart failure. He would get a kidney transplant in 2011 before passing away in 2012 at the age of 63. So there you have it. I think there was like 23 of them. And, you can see for yourself, there's evidence to prove um, that bodybuilding is just not the true way. I mean, it's just, they look like they're healthy, they look like they're strong, you know. But the truth is, what they're doing is extremely unhealthy, and it's not good for you, and they're all dying early. And that's not the true way. That's not what I promote. So I really wanted to share the article to get people, to kind of open their eyes when they, to not strive to follow in these people's footsteps. They're not worth following. So you can check the link to the description of this video and you can read all the articles for yourself. And, hopefully you learn something from it.